Making sure that your decking is in good shape before you install your roofing is an essential step in installing a quality roof. In this section, we're going to discuss different types of decking, how to spot problems in your roof deck, and how to repair a damaged piece of decking. The most common roof decking type these days is this type of oriented strand board known as OSB. It's made from wood chips that are just glued together. While we call it a 1/2 inch thick, it's actually 15/32 of an inch thick, which is slightly less than 1/2 inch. So you can use this for your deck. That's what's on most new homes these days. You can also use a similar thickness of exterior grade plywood like we've got here, and that's what's on our models. You want to make sure that your rafters are spaced on 16-inch centers. If your rafters are spaced on 24-inch centers for some reason, make sure that you're using a thicker grade of plywood, closer to 5/8 inch thick. I've seen people try to use 3/8 inch plywood before on roofs, and it's a big mistake because it might be rigid at first, but over time it doesn't hold up and it really wants to sag bad. Another common type of roof decking is real wood plank decking like this 1x4 here. More typically, you'd see a 1x6 or 1x8. In my area, this was the most common type of decking used on homes built in, I'd say, around the early 1960s and earlier. You don't really see this used often anymore. And while you might think that this type of real wood, which is actually a full 3/4 inch thick and it's an actual piece of wood, you might think that it would be a better type of decking than the plywood or the OSB. My experience has proven otherwise. Some of the problems that I've seen with this type of decking are that after it gets old, the knots in the wood tend to shrink and fall out, which causes problems. Also, due to the fact that you've got so many more nails and joints and butt joints than you would with a larger piece of plywood, there's a lot more issues going on down the road with the decking popping up and coming loose than I see with sheet decking like the plywood. So if you have this type of decking in your house, it's no problem, but I wouldn't recommend using it on a new house. I want you to take a look at this new shingle. This is a brand new architectural shingle. It's soft and it's pliable. As you can see, I hold it up with my fingers, it just folds over it. So it's going to need to rely on a solid foundation to support it. That's why your deck is so important. Your shingle roof will only be as sound as the decking beneath it. If your decking is warped and bowed, your shingles will reflect this when you're finished because they're soft and they're just going to conform to the deck. If the decking is sound and in good shape, but it's not perfectly flat, that's okay if you don't mind how it looks when you're finished, but it is going to telegraph through the shingles. I make this point to say that the condition of your decking is critical to how your shingles will perform in the years to come. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit subscribe so you can be a part of my channel. You can watch all my videos that cover complete stages of both shingle and metal roofing. There's tons more content coming out soon about all aspects of roofing, including skylights and trim and sheds and whatever you're interested in. So after you've torn off the old roof and can see the decking, you want to take a look around and try to find any rotten areas or spots in the decking that are not attached to the framing well and maybe popping up. So you might have a corner of the decking that's coming loose where the plywood sheets meet or something like that. You want to pay special attention to the areas around pipes and chimneys and the roof edges, like down here by the gutter or something like that, as these are the areas where we tend to see more rotten wood. If you found a rotten spot, I'll give you some tips here on replacing it. If you're in doubt about whether or not the decking is good enough to leave in there, I'd definitely err on the side of replacing more wood than less, just to make sure you're in good shape. Because once you got the shingles torn off, that's the time that you want to go ahead and replace it, because it's a lot easier then than if you have to come back in later. All right, so if you got a rotten piece of decking in the middle of a piece of wood, your easiest option is just going to be to cut out a small piece of it and replace just the rotten piece and not the entire piece of plywood. So to do this, what you're going to want to do first is figure out where the adjacent rafters are located. So you'll have to make your cuts along where those rafters are and cut a new piece of sheathing that's large enough to span between those two rafters. You can do minimum, obviously, 2 rafters. You can do 3 or 4 rafters if it's a larger piece, or the rot comes real close to the edge, something like that. So a little bigger piece is always better than using a smaller piece. So it's going to help to stabilize your new piece of decking. So you can find the new rafters below the decking most easily by locating the nail head. So once you've got your felt and everything torn off, you can usually see the nails that are holding the piece of sheathing down. So you're going to want to cut out a piece of sheathing large enough to eliminate all of the damaged wood. So in this case, we got the thing here, the damaged piece of wood here. We're going to want to measure down on either side and mark out a rectangular piece to be removed. So in this case, I made a mark here. This is where our one rafter is. The other rafter is right here along the edge. And you're going to want to make a mark to measure up either side. So you've got a square or rectangular piece. So you got the same distance on either side. So I'm just going to cut up 18 inches here on either side. And we're going to use this to snap some lines on both the rafter here and then across, so we can cut this piece out.
Good.
Yeah. So you're going to go ahead and chalk a line both along the rafter there and then also across the top here where we're going to cut this piece out. Go ahead. So we know that the other rafter is going to be right along the edge of the roof here. So now that we've got the area marked out that we're going to cut out, we're going to get the skill saw out and make our cuts to cut this piece of damaged wood out. You want to make sure though to use your nail puller or flat bar to go ahead and pull out any nails that are on your cut line. You don't want to run into the nails with your saw blade when you go ahead and cut that. Also, you want to make sure to adjust your saw blade so that it only cuts just as deep as the thickness of the plywood decking. This is going to prevent you from having any issues later where the blade was too deep and you actually cut through the rafter or any of the framing below it. So we're going to go ahead and set the blade depth and cut this piece of wood out. So once you cut out the piece of damaged decking and it comes out in a pretty clean piece like this, you can probably just go ahead and use this piece to trace out the new piece on the full sheet of plywood that you're going to be using to replace it with. So place this on top of the old piece, trace it out, cut out your new piece of decking and place it in the hole and nail it in securely in place. All right, so once we got a piece cut, tested to fit, we're going to put it back in and nail it in place. One thing that I would recommend using is these clips. It's called an H-clip. And this is going to be used in between the rafters to just give the edge of the decking a little bit of extra support. All right, once you got your piece fitted back in, I want you to go ahead and nail it back in real well along the rafters. We want to nail it every 8 inches on center, and I recommend using a galvanized ring shank nail like this. The ring shank nails are going to make it a lot harder for this piece to back out later. You can use some sinkers if you have them. That's probably what put your roof together, but the ring shank nails are a good insurance policy to keep the piece from ever having to back out again. So that's how you replace plywood decking if you're replacing 1x6, 1x8 decking. It's basically the same procedure. You just may need to replace multiple pieces of the 1x to get all the damage out. Once you've got your decking tightened up, you're ready to start applying your underlayments. And we're going to talk about that in the next section. If you'd like the complete series for yourself on how to do shingle or metal roofing, you can go to my website, RoofingIntelligence.com, and there you can get a membership to either stream or you can get a DVD in the mail that'll show you how to do all the steps for either of those types of roofing. Enjoy this video. Thanks so much for watching.